How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances from yesterday, Wednesday, September 22nd, and of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today, as we are where we are in this year of sports, just showing where you are, just starting from the top. The 2021 WNBA playoffs start today. The MLB season's coming to a close. Football's just getting started. The NBA is right around the corner, and the same with the NHL. But taking a very quick look at what's going on with the WNBA in the first round today, it looks as though the Chicago Sky are going to face off against the Dallas Wings. The Chicago Sky coming into this matchup with the second best record in the Eastern Conference. The Dallas Wings are coming into this matchup with the fifth best record out of 6 in the Western Conference. And then taking a look at what's going on in the other league, the New York Liberty, the holders of the fourth best record in the Eastern Conference, are going to go to Phoenix to face off against the Mercury, who are holding the fourth seed out there. So, of course, that's going to be a big game. Both games are going to be on ESPN2. The Wings Sky game is going to be at 8 o'clock, and the Liberty Mercury game is going to be on at 10. And, of course, I'm going to, once all of today's matchups for the WNBA are done, I'll get back to for the next games, which take place on Sunday. Taking a look at what's going on in the MLB this season, jumping out to Tampa Bay, the Rays hosted the Blue Jays, and the Tampa Bay Rays were able to beat the Blue Jays 7-1 after scoring 6 runs in the third inning, and of course they scored their 7th the very next inning in the fourth. For Toronto in this matchup, the start was given to Julia Merriweather. Merriweather would allow no earned runs in the first inning. The loss would go to their first relief pitcher, Ross Stripling. Ross Stripling would allow 5 earned runs in 1.1 inning pitched. He would get pulled in the third inning, and with this loss, he's now 5-7. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, their elite first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., was the only player with more than 1 hit. He would go 2 for 3 with a run. For the Tampa Bay Rays, the start would go to Luis Patino. He would allow no earned runs and only 1 hit in 3 innings, striking out a batter. The win would go to their first relief pitcher, JT Chargois. Chargois would allow no earned runs in the 4th inning as he struck out 2. With this win, JT Chargois is 6-1 for the Tampa Bay Rays this year. In the Rays batting lineup, their elite left fielder, Randy Arozarena, will go 3 for 5 with 2 runs. Their third baseman, Yandy Diaz, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. And then their catcher, Francisco Mejia, would go 2 for 4 with a run. With this win, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 94-59. That is the best record in the American League East at the moment. They've won 5 of their last 10 games, and at the moment they sit 6 games ahead of the second place Boston Red Sox in the division. Right now, they are holding on to the number 1 seed in the American League, sitting ahead of the 2nd seed Houston Astros, and they sit ahead of the 3rd seed Chicago White Sox for the time being in the playoff picture. With this loss, the Toronto Blue Jays are now 85-67. That is the 4th best record in the American League East, win percentage-wise. They've lost only 4 of their last 10, as they trailed the Tampa Bay Rays by 8.5 games in the division. The Blue Jays have now trailed the Yankees by half a game for that 2nd American League wildcard spot. At the moment, the Rays are the first team on the outside looking in, at least on the American League side, as it comes to the wildcard. Jumping out to Miami, the Miami Marlins hosted the Washington Nationals. The Nats would end up beating the Marlins 7-5 on the road as they would score 3 runs in the 7th inning to run away with their lead. For the Marlins, the loss would go to their starting pitcher, Elise Hernandez. He would allow 4 earned runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 7. With this loss, he's 1-3. In the Marlins batting lineup, their left fielder, Louis Brinson, went 2 for 4 with a run. And then their first baseman, Lewin Diaz, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. For the Washington Nationals in this matchup, the win would go to their starting pitcher, Josiah Gray. He allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings, striking out 8. With this win, he's 1-2 on the season. The save for the Nationals would go to their closer, Tanner Rainey, who allowed no earned runs in .2 innings pitched to finish off the 9th. This would be his second save of the season. In the Nats batting lineup, their shortstop Alcides Escobar went 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Their elite right fielder, Juan Soto, would end up going 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He would hit his 27th home run of the season yesterday. Their left fielder, Yadiel Hernandez, would end up going 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. He would hit his 9th home run of the season. Their catcher, Alex Avila, will go 2 for 4. And then their second baseman, Luis Garcia, would end up going 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Luis Garcia would end up hitting his 6th home run of the season, and with this win, the Washington Nationals are now 63-89. That is the worst record in the entire National League East, as they've won their last 2 games. They've won 5 of their last 10. They currently sit 18 games behind the Atlanta Braves in the National League East, and they are one of 5 teams in the National League who have been eliminated from playoff contention at the moment. And with this loss, the Miami Marlins are now 64-88. That is the 4th best record in the National League East. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They trail the Atlanta Braves by 17 games in the division. And the Marlins and the Nationals are the 2 teams from the NL East who have been eliminated from playoff contention so far this season. Jumping out to Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Phillies hosted the Baltimore Orioles, who came into this matchup with the worst record in baseball. The Phillies would end up beating the Orioles 4-3, as both teams were scoreless in the first 5 innings of the game. The Orioles would take the first lead of the game. The Phillies would score 2 at the bottom of the 6th off of a 2-run home run from Andrew McCutchen. Then the Orioles would tie the game up at 2 at the top of the 7th. And then at the bottom of the 7th, Gene Segura's sacrifice fly would give the Phillies the lead. JT Realmuto's single would put them up 2, just up enough for the Orioles' last run in the 8th to not really do much, and the Phillies ran away with win number 78. For the Orioles, the start would go to Keegan Akin. He allowed 1 earned run in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 6. The loss would go to the Orioles' second relief pitcher for the day, Connor Green. Connor Green would allow 2 earned runs in .2 innings pitched. With this loss, he's now 1-2, as he would not go on to finish the 7th inning. In the Orioles batting lineup, the only player that had more than 1 hit was their second baseman, Pat Valaika. He would end up going 2 for 4 for the day. For the Philadelphia Phillies, the start went to Zach Wheeler. He allowed 1 earned run off of 4 hits in 6 innings pitched, striking out 9. The win would go to the Phillies' second relief pitcher, Jose Alvarado. He allowed no earned runs in .1 inning pitched to finish the 7th. With this win, he's 7-1. The save would go to the Phillies' closer, Ian Kennedy. Kennedy would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. This would be his 25th of the year. And in the Phillies batting lineup, their second baseman, Gene Segura, went 2 for 3 with an RBI. Their first baseman, Matt Vierling, went 2 for 4 with a run. And with this win, the Philadelphia Phillies are 78-74. That is the second best record in the National League East. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 6 of their last 10. They trail the Atlanta Braves by 3 games in the division, as they trail the St. Louis Cardinals by 4.5 games. They and the Cincinnati Reds are now tied for the best record outside of the National League playoff picture. And with this loss, the Baltimore Orioles are now 48-104. That is the worst record in the American League East, as they've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 8 of their last 10. They trailed the Tampa Bay Rays by 45.5 games in the division, as they share the worst record in all of baseball with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are one of 6 teams that have been eliminated from the American League and from playoff contention. Alongside them sit the Texas Rangers, the Minnesota Twins, the Kansas City Royals, the Los Angeles Angels, and the Detroit Tigers. Jumping out to the Bronx, the New York Yankees took on another team that was eliminated from American League contention, the Texas Rangers. And the Yankees would end up beating the Rangers 7-3. The Yankees would go into the bottom of the 8th tied at 3. Gleyber Torres' RBI double would give them the first run out of 4 in that inning, which would give them win number 86 and a spot right back into the playoff picture. For the Texas Rangers in this matchup, the start would go to Taylor Hearn. He allowed 3 earned runs and 5.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 3 before getting pulled in the 6th inning, and the loss would go to the Rangers setup relief pitcher. Spencer Patton would end up going, or he would allow 4 earned runs in the 8th inning, even though he wasn't able to finish. And with this, he would only strike out 1 batter on the day. And with this loss, he's 1-2 on the year. In the Rangers batting lineup, the only player with a multi-hit game was their shortstop, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. For the New York Yankees, the start would go to their elite starting pitcher, Corey Kluber. He allowed 3 earned runs and 4.1 innings pitched, striking out 4. The win would go to the Yankees setup relief pitcher, Chad Green. Chad Green would go on to allow no earned runs and 1 inning pitched, and with this win, he's now 9-7 on the season. In the Yankees batting lineup, their shortstop, Gio Urshela, would end up going 2 for 4 with 2 runs, and their catcher, Kyle Higashioka, will go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. With this win, the New York Yankees are now 86-67. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East. They've won their last 3 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. They trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 8 games in the division at the moment, and they are holding that 2nd American League wildcard spot, sitting 2 games behind the first-place Boston Red Sox, and they sit half a game ahead of the Toronto Blue Jays, who are the first team sitting outside of the playoff picture looking in. With this loss, the Texas Rangers are now 55-97. That is the worst record in the American League West and the 2nd worst record in the American League. They've lost their last 4 games, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. In their division, they trail the Houston Astros by 36 games. They are one of 6 teams in the American League who have been eliminated from playoff contention. Jumping out to Boston, the Boston Red Sox hosted the New York Mets, and in this matchup, the Red Sox would beat the Mets 12-5 to pick up yet another win and increase their deficit over the American League playoff picture. They would end up scoring 9 of their 12 runs in the first 3 innings, as they would pepper the next 3 with a run each. For the New York Mets in this matchup, the loss would go to their starting pitcher, Taijuan Walker. He allowed 6 earned runs in the first 2 innings of the game, striking out a batter. With this loss, he's now 7-11 on the season. In the Mets batting lineup, their center fielder, Brandon Nimmo, went 2 for 5 with a run. Their elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. Their left fielder, Jeff McNeil, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. And then their elite first baseman, Pete Alonso, would go 1 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Pete Alonso would hit his 35th home run of the season. With this, for the Boston Red Sox, the win would go to their elite starting pitcher, Chris Sale. Chris Sale would allow 2 earned runs and 5 innings pitched, striking out 8. With this win, Chris Sale is 5-0 to start his 2021 season. In the Red Sox batting lineup, their first baseman, Kyle Schwarber, went 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs and 4 runs. He would go on to hit his 30th and his 31st home runs of the season, the only player on the Red Sox to hit a home run. Their all-star third baseman, Rafael Devers, would go 2 for 4. And then their elite designated hitter, JD Martinez, would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. Additionally, for the Red Sox, their right fielder, Hunter Renfroe, would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs. With this win, the Boston Red Sox are now 88-65. That is the 2nd best record in the American League East. They've won their last 7 games. That is the longest win streak in the American League and the 2nd longest active win streak in the majors to the St. Louis Cardinals. The Red Sox have won 8 of their last 10 games. In their division, they trailed the Tampa Bay Rays by 6 games, and they are holding on to that top American League wildcard spot, sitting 2 games ahead of the 2nd-place New York Yankees at the moment. With this loss, the New York Mets are now 73-79. That is the 3rd best record in the National League East. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. They trail the Atlanta Braves by 8 games in the division at the moment. Jumping out to Chicago, the Chicago Cubs hosted the Minnesota Twins. The Twins were able to beat the Cubs 5-4, as the difference would be the extra run they scored at the top of the 9th, thanks to the sacrifice fly from Andrelton Simmons. For the Chicago Cubs in this matchup, the loss would go to their starting pitcher, Kyle Hendricks. He allowed 4 runs and 5.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 3 before he was pulled in the 6th inning. With this loss, he's 14-7 on the season. In the Cubs batting lineup, their first baseman, Frank Schwindel, would go 2 for 4 with a run. And then their shortstop Nico Horner would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. For the Minnesota Twins in this matchup, the win would go to their starting pitcher Joe Ryan. Ryan would allow 2 earned runs in 5 innings as he struck out 11. With this win, he's now 2-1 on the season, and the save would end up going to the Twins closer Alex Colome. Colome would allow 2 earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2 batters. This would be his 15th save of the year. In the Twins batting lineup, their right fielder Max Kepler went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs. He would go on to hit his 18th and 19th home runs of the season. He was the only player on the Twins with more than 1 hit. With this win, the Minnesota Twins are now 67-85. That is the worst record in the American League Central as they've won their last 2 games. They've won 4 of their last 10. They trailed the division-leading Chicago White Sox by 18.5 games in the division, and they are one of 6 teams in the American League that have been eliminated from playoff contention. With this loss, the Chicago Cubs are now 65-87 as well. That is the 4th best record in the National League Central as they've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 8 of their last 10. They trailed the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers by 24 games. And in the National League, they are one of 5 teams that have been eliminated from playoff contention at the moment. Jumping out to Milwaukee, the National League Central leaders hosted possibly the hottest team in baseball in the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals would end up beating the Brewers to extend their winning streak to 11 as 6 of their 10 runs were scored in the first 2 innings. For the Milwaukee Brewers in this matchup, the loss would go to Brett Anderson. Anderson would allow 6 runs in 1.2 innings pitched. With this loss, he's 4-9. In the Brewers batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their right fielder, Avi Garcia, will go 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run, and his hit was his 29th home run of the season. For the St. Louis Cardinals, the win went to Miles Mccullers, their starting pitcher. He allowed 2 earned runs and 4 hits in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this win, Mccullers is 2-2 on the season. In the Redbirds batting lineup, their elite first baseman Paul Goldschmidt went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 4 runs. He would go on to hit his 29th home run of the season. Their left fielder, Tyler O'Neill, went 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He would hit his 29th home run of the season. Their elite third baseman, Nolan Arenado, went 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs. Their right fielder, Dylan Carlson, went 2 for 5 with a run. Their shortstop, Edmundo Sosa, went 2 for 4 with a run. And their center fielder, Harrison Bader, went 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are now 82-69. That is the 2nd best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 11 games. That is the longest active win streak in the majors. They now trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 8.5 games in the division, and right now they're holding on to that 2nd National League wildcard spot. Right now, they trailed the LA Dodgers by 14.5 games for that first spot, as the Dodgers have already clinched that top wildcard spot. The St. Louis Cardinals currently sit 4.5 games ahead of the Cincinnati Reds and the Philadelphia Phillies, the 2 teams that are tied for that first spot outside of the playoff picture looking in. With this loss, the Milwaukee Brewers are now 91-61. That is the best record in the National League Central, as they have 10 more games left in their season. They've lost their last 4 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They sit 8.5 games ahead of the 2nd place St. Louis Cardinals in their division, and at the moment they're holding on to the 2nd seed in the National League playoff picture, trailing the 1st seed San Francisco Giants out west and sitting ahead of the 3rd seed Atlanta Braves from the east. Jumping out to Denver, the site of the 2021 MLB All-Star Game, the Rockies would end up beating the defending world champs LA Dodgers, as the Rockies scored 5 in the 4th inning. Then they would also score an additional 4 in the 7th inning to score their 10th run. Dodgers just couldn't keep up with them offensively in this matchup. For the defending champs, the start would go to their elite starting pitcher, Walker Buehler. He allowed 5 earned runs, striking out 2 before he was pulled in the 4th inning. The loss would go to the Dodgers' first relief pitcher on the day, Justin Bruihl. Bruihl would allow 1 earned run in .1 inning pitch as he finished off the 4th inning for LA. In the Dodgers batting lineup, nobody on the team had more than 1 hit, as the as their right fielder for the day, Luke Raley, would end up going 1-for-3 with 2 RBIs and a run as he had his second home run of the season. For the Colorado Rockies, the start went to German Marquez. He allowed 5 earned runs in 4 innings, striking out 4. The win for the Rockies went to their first relief pitcher, Robert Stevenson. Stevenson would allow no earned runs in the 5th inning, striking out a batter. With this win, he's 2-1. In the Rockies batting lineup, their second baseman, Brendan Rodgers, went 2-for-5 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 15th home run of the year. Their elite shortstop, Trevor Story, went 2-for-5 with an RBI and a run. Their first baseman, CJ Cron, went 4-for-5 with an RBI and 2 runs. Those were the players with multi-hit games. I'm sorry. With this win, the Colorado Rockies are now 71-80. That is the 4th best record in the National League West. They've won 7 of their last 10 games as they trail the division-leading San Francisco Giants by 27.5 games in the division. At the moment, they are not yet eliminated from playoff contention, but by this time tomorrow they might be. And with this loss, the defending champs, LA Dodgers, are now 97-55. That is the second best record in all of baseball and the second best record in the National League West. They've lost 2 of their last 10 games as they trail the San Francisco Giants by 2 games in their division. Right now, the Dodgers have already clinched a playoff spot, sitting 14.5 games ahead of the second place St. Louis Cardinals in the wild card picture. And that's just where the Dodgers are sitting, really comfortably where they are. With this loss, the Colorado Rockies are now 71-80. That is the 4th best, or no, I'm sorry. The Rockies won. The Dodgers lost. Jumping out to LA to the team that actually played there, the Los Angeles Angels hosted the Houston Astros. The Astros would beat the Angels 9-5 after scoring 4 runs in the 12th inning. For the Angels in this matchup, the start was given to Jansen Junk. Jansen Junk would allow 3 earned runs in 4 innings pitched, striking out a batter. The loss would go to the Angels' setup relief pitcher Sam Selman. Selman would allow 4 runs as he started off the 12th and was unable to finish. He would strike out a batter. With this loss, he's 0-1. In the Angels batting lineup, their left fielder, Phil Gosselin, went 2-for-5 with a run. Their all-star first baseman, Jared Walsh, went 2-for-5 with a run. And then their shortstop, Louis Renhefo, would end up going 2-for-5 with a run for himself. For the Houston Astros, the start went to Luis Garcia. Garcia would allow no earned runs and 3 hits in 6 innings pitched. He would strike out a batter in the first 6 innings of the game. The win for the Astros would go to their setup relief pitcher, Yimi Garcia, as he would finish the 10th and 11th innings for Houston. With this win, he's now 4-9. In the Astros batting lineup, their left fielder, Yordan Alvarez, went 3-for-4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 32nd home run of the season. Their first baseman, Yuli Gurriel, went 2-for-6 with an RBI. And then their right fielder, Chas McCormick, went 3-for-5 with a run. With this win, the Houston Astros are now 9-5 on the season. But looking back, Yordan Alvarez, like I said, he hit his 32nd home run. But with this win, the Houston Astros are now 91-61 on the season. That is the best record in the American League West. They've won their last 4 games, and they've won 8 of their last 10. They sit 8 games ahead of the second place Seattle Mariners in their division, and in the American League playoff picture, they are holding on to that second seed, sitting behind the first seed Tampa Bay Rays out east, and sitting ahead of the Chicago White Sox, who are leading the Central. With this loss, the Los Angeles Angels are now 72-80. That is the 4th best record in the American League West. They've lost their last 6 games, which is the longest losing streak in the American League and the longest losing streak in all of the majors, as a matter of fact. They've lost 8 of their last 10. They trail the Houston Astros by 19 games in their division. At the moment, the Angels are one of 6 teams in the American League that have been eliminated from playoff contention. Jumping out to the Bay Area, the Oakland Athletics and the Seattle Mariners faced off against one another for the battle for that second AL wildcard spot. The Mariners would end up beating the Athletics 4-1 And for the Athletics in this matchup, the loss would go to their starting pitcher, Cole Irvin. Cole Irvin would allow 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitched, striking out 5. With this loss, he's 10-14. In the A's batting lineup, no one on the team had more than 1 hit. Their elite third baseman, Matt Chapman, would go 1 for 2 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 27th home run of the season. For the Seattle Mariners, the win would go to their starting pitcher, Chris Flexen. He would allow 1 earned run off of 3 hits and 7 innings pitched as he struck out 8. The save would go to the Mariners closer, Drew Steckenrider. He allowed no earned runs in 9 innings in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter, and with this save, he now has 11 on the season. In the Mariners batting lineup, their first baseman, Ty France, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their third baseman, Kyle Seager, went 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 35th home run of the season. And then their catcher, Todd Murphy, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the Seattle Mariners are now 83-69. That is the second best record in the American League West. They've won their last 4 games, and they've won 6 of their last 10. They trailed the Houston Astros by 8 games in the division, and they now trail the New York Yankees by 2.5 games for that second American League wildcard spot. The Mariners are the second team on the outside looking in, as they also trail the Toronto Blue Jays in that race as well. With this loss, the Oakland Athletics are now 82-70. That is the third best record in the American League West. They've lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They trailed the division-leading Houston Astros by 9 games, and they sit 3.5 games behind the New York Yankees for that second American League wildcard spot. They are sitting in the third spot on the outside looking in as they trail the Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners at the moment. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks, one of the holders of the worst records in baseball, hosted the Atlanta Braves, who were sitting on top of the National League East, and the Braves would end up beating the Diamondbacks 9-2 as they scored 3 runs in the first and 3 runs in the 9th inning. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, the loss will go to their starting pitcher, Merrill Kelly. Kelly would allow 6 earned runs in 6 innings pitched, striking out 7. With this loss, he's 7-11 on the year. In the Diamondbacks batting lineup, their first baseman, Christian Walker, was the only player with more than 1 hit. He went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he would end up hitting his 9th home run of the season. For the Atlanta Braves, the win would go to their starting pitcher, Ian Anderson. He allowed 1 earned run and only 2 hits in 7 innings as he struck out 8. With this win, he's 8-5 on the season, and in the Braves batting lineup, their elite first baseman and reigning National League MVP, Freddie Freeman, would go 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs. Freeman would hit his 31st home run of the season as well as his 25th double and 24th double for that matter. Their elite second baseman, Ozzie Albies, would go 1 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 30th home run of the season. Their third baseman, Austin Riley, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs as he hit his 31st home run of the season. Their center fielder, Adam Duvall, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, and their catcher, William Contreras, would go 2 for 4 with a run. With this win, the Atlanta Braves are now 80-70. That is the best record in the National League East. They've won their last 4 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. They sit 3 games ahead of the second-place Philadelphia Phillies in the division, and they're holding on to the 3rd seed in the playoff picture as they sit behind the 1st seed San Francisco Giants and the Milwaukee Brewers. With this loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 48-104. They are tied with the Baltimore Orioles for the worst record in baseball, and they have the sole worst record in the National League. They've lost their last 4 games, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. They trailed the division-leading San Francisco Giants by 51 games, and they are one of 5 teams in the National League who have been eliminated from playoff contention. They sit alongside the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Washington Nationals, the Miami Marlins, and the Chicago Cubs. Jumping out to San Diego, last but not least, the Padres hosted the Giants, who went into this matchup holding the best record in baseball. The Giants would beat the Padres 8-6 as the Giants are now 1 win away from 100. For the San Diego Padres in this matchup, the start and the loss would go to Vince Velasquez. Vince Velasquez would pick up his 8th loss of the year as he allowed 2 earned runs in 1 inning, striking out 2. With this loss, he's 3-8. In the Padres batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Fernando Tatis Jr., would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. He would hit his 40th home run of the season. Their elite third baseman, Manny Machado, went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. And then their first baseman, Eric Hosmer, would go 4 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Additionally, their center fielder, Trent Grisham, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. For the San Francisco Giants, the start went to Scott Kazmir. Scott Kazmir would pitch 4 innings, striking out 3. The win would go to the Giants' first relief pitcher, Camilo Doval. Doval would allow no earned runs in the 5th inning, striking out a batter. With this win, he's 4-1. In the Giants batting lineup, their future Hall of Fame catcher, Buster Posey, would go 4 for 5 with an RBI and 3 runs. Their right fielder, Lamont Wade Jr., would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. Their shortstop, Brandon Crawford, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the San Francisco Giants are now 99-53. That is the best record in all of the MLB, as they've won their last 2 games and they've won 7 of their last 10. They sit 2 games ahead of the second place Los Angeles Dodgers within their own division. And at the moment, they're holding on to the number 1 playoff seed in the National League playoff picture, sitting ahead of the 2nd seed Milwaukee Brewers and the 3rd seed Atlanta Braves. With this loss, the San Diego Padres are now 76-75. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West. They've lost their last 5 games, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. They trail the San Francisco Giants by 22.5 games in the division. And that is, they are sitting in that 3rd spot on the outside of the wild card picture looking in at the moment. That is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's exhibitions, and of course going into today's matchups, knowing that today is a bit of a travel day. Starting at 1:10, it'll be the first in a doubleheader as the Cleveland Indians will host the Chicago White Sox. Aaron Savali for the Indians is going to host Reynaldo Lopez of the Chicago White Sox. Lopez comes into this matchup with a 3-3 record, holding a 3 flat ERA. Aaron Savali enters this matchup with an 11-4 record, holding a 3.40 ERA. And looking at game 2 of this doubleheader on ESPN Plus, Zach Plesac is going to take the mound for Cleveland, as it's undisclosed, or as the White Sox have not decided on a game 2 starter yet. At 2:10, Adrian Hauser and the Milwaukee Brewers are going to host Adam Wainwright and the St. Louis Cardinals. Adam Wainwright comes into this matchup with a 16-7 record, holding a 2.89 ERA for a team that's on an 11-game win streak right now. And then for the Brewers, Adrian Hauser comes into this matchup with a 9-6 record, holding a 3.43 ERA. At 3:10, Kyle Freeland and the Colorado Rockies are going to host Max Scherzer, the goated starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Scherzer comes into this matchup with a 15-4 record, holding a 2.08 ERA on the season. At 3:37, Chris Bassett and the Oakland Athletics are going to host Yusei Kikuchi, the all-star starting pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. Chris Bassett comes into this matchup holding a 12-4 record and a 3.22 ERA. At 3:40, Madison Bumgarner and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host Charlie Morton and the Atlanta Braves. Morton enters this matchup with a 13-6 record, holding a 3.49 ERA. At 4:10, the San Diego Padres, led by their elite starting pitcher Yu Darvish, are going to host the San Francisco Giants, led by Logan Webb. Webb enters this matchup with a 10-3 record, holding a 2.79 ERA. Yu Darvish enters this matchup with an 8-10 record, holding a 4.13 ERA. At 6:40, Luis Castillo and the Cincinnati Reds are going to host Patrick Corbin and the Washington Nationals. At 7:05, Aaron Nola and the Philadelphia Phillies are going to host Connor Overton and the Pittsburgh Pirates. At 7:05, Zach Lothar and the Baltimore Orioles are going to host Glenn Otto and the Texas Rangers. At 7:40, Michael Pineda and the Minnesota Twins and Steven Matz from the Toronto Blue Jays are going to face off. Matz comes into this matchup with a 13-7 record, holding a 3.84 ERA. Michael Pineda enters this matchup with a 7-5 record, holding a 3.84 ERA. Last but not least, at 9:38 in Anaheim, Alex Cobb and the Los Angeles Angels are going to host Lance McCullers Jr. and the division-leading Houston Astros. McCullers enters his matchup with a 12-4 record, holding a 3.11 ERA. Alex Cobb enters his matchup with an 8-3 record, holding a 3.59 ERA. That's what's going on with baseball. Taking a quick look at what's going on with football, the first matchup of week 3 is going to take place in Houston as the Houston Texans are going to face off against the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers come into this matchup with a 2-0 record. The Titans are now 1-1 to start their season. And looking at what's going on with soccer, starting with yesterday's matchup in Spanish La Liga, Real Madrid was able to beat Mallorca 6-1. They were able to get a brace from their elite French striker Karim Benzema. They were able to get a score from Isco, and they were able to get a hat trick from their forward Marco Asensio. With the 3 points in the table, Real Madrid is currently sitting on top of La Liga, 2 points ahead of second place Atletico Madrid. Jumping out to Italian Serie A, Juventus picked up their first win of the season, beating Spezia 3-2, getting goals from Moise Kean, Federico Chiesa, the Italian forward, and their elite defender, Matthijs de Ligt. Matthijs de Ligt, with this win, was able to help Juventus. Juventus is now holding the 13th best record in the Serie A at the moment. Like I said, this is their first win out of their first 5 matchups. AC Milan was able to beat Venezia 2-0 as Diaz would score the first one, and then Teo Hernandez would score number 2. With this win, AC Milan is now tied with Inter Milan for the most points in the Serie A table. And then looking at French Ligue 1, PSG was able to beat Metz 2-1. Both their goals will come from Achraf Hakimi, their elite defender. So right now that is what PSG and that is what all of soccer is looking like. As last but not least, jumping to the Carabao Cup, Manchester United was eliminated by West Ham, and this was the 3rd round, by the way. The only goal will be scored in the 9th minute by Lanzini. Tottenham Hotspur was able to beat Wolverhampton off of penalty kicks as Harry Kane would score the second goal for Hotspur. And of course, one of the penalty kicks that would help them win. Chelsea was able to beat Aston Villa on penalty kicks as their only goal came from Timo Werner, their elite striker. Arsenal was able to beat AFC Wimbledon 3-0 as their first goal will come from their French striker, Alexandre Lacazette. And that's virtually what's going on with soccer from yesterday. Looking forward to what's going on today, starting with La Liga. Barcelona is going to face off against Cádiz. Looking out in La Liga standings, Barcelona is holding the 8th best record. A win here could see them possibly jump into 3rd place in La Liga. In Serie A, it looks as though Roma is going to face off against Udinese at 2:45. But those not many big games other than those. But that is everything that's going on with sports as far as I'm concerned for Thursday, September 23rd. I want to thank all of the MLB, WNBA, NFL, and FIFA websites for giving me the facts and figures that I needed in order to do this episode. I do apologize for butchering a lot of names. I do plan on getting them right. And with that said, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to all 37 minutes. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow once everything is done today. Thanks for listening to everything. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode on Friday, September 24th. Until then, peace out.